What are we jamming on now? Jay, what are you jamming on now to wind down 2022?
Outside of our awesome side quest, where I've been really digging into Dragon Warrior 2, which is awesome. A lot of ESO, as I normally do. But story time. Now go with me for a second. So I've been grinding a lot at this game. You know, I've been playing this game for, I don't know, like 7 years now. So much time. You know, and there's definitely been times where I've just taken time off because I just got bored with it. I've done everything up to that point, whatever, you know, until DLCs come out. And, you know, I'm listening to different podcasts about different RPGs, MMORPGs, things like that. And I'm thinking about Final Fantasy.
There's got to be ESO specific podcasts, is there not?
I haven't listened to those, but I'm so deep into that. Like, I don't know that I'd listen to one. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
I'm so deep into it. I'm just like, enough. I need some variation.
Okay.
But in listening to these, you know, people are talking about Final Fantasy 14 Online as like more popular in a lot of ways, like more player count and that kind of thing. And considering we've played Final Fantasy,
is that an MMO?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Or I would not assume that. Of course, I didn't know it, but I would not have assumed it.
I mean, that's what I mean. Since I never play on my PlayStation, like I didn't really know. And since we had just recently finished our Final Fantasy 1 side quest, you know, and I'm much more interested in that world now. I want to buy the Final Fantasy 1 through 6 pixel remaster collection just so I can play through all those. But because I was interested,
don't play through those. We're gonna play those. Don't play through those. We're gonna play those, or some of them at least. I don't know if we'll get to 6. I mean, 6 is pretty far off.
That's a lot. Yeah,
but two is inevitable. That's SNES. So we'll get to that for sure.
All right, so I won't go there yet. But my point is, like, my interest in the Final Fantasy franchise has just blossomed, you know. And so I boot up the PS4, and I go to the store, and I'm mid-demo. I'm in the middle of downloading the Final Fantasy VII Remake demo. I must have, like, turned it on before the last time I had my PS4 on or something and just turned it off and left. And so I let that finish, and instead of, you know, I'm looking at the store just checking Final Fantasy Online, but when the remake finished, this is the Final Fantasy VII Remake, you know, I jumped into that, and that game was so awesome. Like, I'm so hooked already. Like, I can't imagine. Obviously, the graphics are different than what they were when the game came out, but just the fact that all these other things are involved at that time, you know, I obviously did not have a PlayStation, so I never got to play that initially. But my buddy in high school did, and so I was over his house and to watch him, and it was fascinating enough. And I was like, man, this is such an interesting game. But like seeing it and playing it for myself now, like, oh, I might have to buy it. Like, it's so good, man. Have you played that? Did you play it originally?
We talked about it. Yeah, Jab had it on his PlayStation, and I definitely tried somewhat at some point, but I don't. It's too spacey. I hated the PlayStation. We've talked about that ad nauseum in the chat. It was so clunky and just fucking, I don't know. Everything was so boxy, and the controls I don't know if you remember, the PS1 did not have analog sticks. It was so bad.
I did not have a PS1, so
it was a 3D environment with a D-pad. Think about that. Think about how dumb that is. Yeah, it sucks. Well, and that's why a clunky D-pad, no less. You know, so you know, I did not like the PlayStation at all. I played Resident Evil a little bit because that was just so fucking good, but most of the shit Jab had otherwise on that PS, I just could not get into. In Final Fantasy, I mean, it's a long ass game. So, and I also just the space sci-fi thing, like mixed with the medieval fan. I don't really vibe too well with that either. So just like the world of it wasn't particularly appealing, and obviously Final Fantasy VII is way further down the line. Like Final Fantasy 1 skews more into the medieval fantasy aspect,
right?
Less so the space shit, you know. And Final Fantasy VII, like they're way further down that. You know, the skews way the other way. I think, at least in my understanding and my perception. So, you know, that was not particularly appealing to me. But I fully understand the revere that it has, and I do not question that it is probably a good game. It's just I don't think it's my vibe necessarily.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's like the demo was very short, but there's enough there that I was wowed. Like in terms of both the gameplay, like you still have
the
your
remaster's
spells.
got to just be insane.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. Like I'm sure all of your complaints are all like taken away in this remaster because like clearly like you can even when there's dialogue move the screen around, which is something that hasn't even arrived only the last couple of years. You know what I mean? And so. Like the graphics
the remaster is not like a pixel remaster.
This is a remake. This is a remake, not a remaster. So they remade it with full like 3D graphics, like everything, like much more like updated abilities to like move your camera angle when you want, and it's just that's what I'm saying. Like it's, I can see like the current generation graphic capabilities and all that stuff, plus the Final Fantasy, like your spells, your abilities, like like what's going on there in terms of like, oh, you just got an ally. And so it's different than I thought though. I actually thought that one was turn-based and clearly I was misremembering. And so it's not really turn-based, but it's kind of like this combination. I can't really explain it, but I like it. You know, there's live combat, but you definitely still have turns, it feels like, because you can't always just use your spells and abilities when you want to, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, it was like the original was kind of Super Mario RPG-ish, was it not? Like that kind of vibe. Like, there's like action components, like you have to like hit a button at a certain time to do a certain thing as effectively as you would want it to be done, but it's not like full on control yourself combat.
Yeah, but this one is like when you're Cloud, you are... Like, I can stop to use my spells and stop to use my abilities, but I can also just attack, just furiously attack. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like an open world, like, fighter in that aspect, but at the same time, you're able to kind of, like, not pause the combat, but kind of hit the command list and kind of stop yourself and then use your ability next or spell next. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's this hybrid. Like, you can play it kind of... You need to play it both ways because you have to get to those commands to obviously do more like you would in a normal Final Fantasy game. But you I would be very curious. Strike.
Yeah, I would be very curious to hear someone who has played both at length and hear kind of like how different that is from the original. Because I just cannot fathom that the original had like any real live action to it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
who knows? Not my thing.
I'm impressed that like. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm impressed at what they did there because it feels like both, and I like it. It took a little while to get used to, but even in that short demo time, which was maybe an hour, you know, like the kids are all sitting lined up watching me, all fascinated, like, wow, like this is amazing. Look at Cloud, like this is the introduction of Cloud because they know him from, you know, Smash Brothers and all kind of other things. So, so I think I'm gonna have to buy that. I may buy it now because it's on super sale and just like put it on the shelf while I play through the earlier ones. You know, we'll see.
Okay.
But in the world of remakes and remasters, continuing that theme, The Witcher 3. Like, we got to go back to it.
They've already redone one of those? Oh my god.
So this is
redone that.
But think about it like this. This is not a remake, this is a remaster. So my previous version, which was a great game, you know, was upgraded to the next gen version for free. No, dude. What? Oh, don't even. We can't even.
We've had this discussion.
Yes, we have. Yeah.
Boring button mashing swordplay. It's fucking terrible. And a wildly opaque and obtuse crafting system that is not even vaguely enjoyable. Looks beautiful. The story world could have been cool. Who crafts? What do you mean?
I mean,
that's how you
craft the minimal things to like help augment your signs and everything, but you're not crafting like you would in Elder Scrolls or something like in another game. Like if that's what you're expecting, yes, that's not that level of crafting.
No, it's there. And what do you mean level? That's the thing. It's too much to figure out. I couldn't figure it out. It was every time I had to do because I think I'm pretty sure that's like a condition-based thing too. I don't know. I just remember like the jewels and shit I was putting into swords. Like I didn't even know what the fuck I was doing. There was no way to figure out. I mean, obviously you can probably Google your ass off, but I don't want to sit and Google while I fucking play a game every 5 seconds. It was constant. Like you had to. It was such it was a constant need or pressing to do that crafting and upgrading and jewel setting and all that shit. And it's just like fuck off, man. Fucking get to the fucking game, man.
I think you're doing something wrong there. Although I will say, I will agree on the not understanding which things go where at first, because it took me a while to be like, why won't this one go here? Like, I definitely will agree with you on that one. And I never,
it was the silver for the undead or whatever the fuck it was. And certain jewels go. It was like, it was fucking, it was terrible. So opaque. I hated it so much. But the actual action was just hitting the button. All you do is just hit a button. Just hit a button, and then he fucking swings the sword all different ways. Like, it was so fucking...
No. I mean, I will grant you that it is not as variable in some of the combat as later games, yes. But I think for the time and everything else considered, Gwent, all that, things that you don't like, I think are still great. But regardless...
I had Skyrim on that system. All those things were possible that I wanted.
Regardless... I think the game was great. I only stopped it because, life got in the way. I think my son was born at the time, and I just kind of...
Yeah, I still got to, like, level 30 or something in the game. I played the shit out of it. It's not like I have this opinion based on... Because it was the first game. Amy got me the PS3 for something, and that was the first game that she got. So I only had The Witcher 3 for a while. Like Witcher and Madden, I think, for a long time. So... I gave it the old college try and a half, man. It was not like, I played this game for a few hours, like, fuck this, and I just didn't know, I didn't, like, get familiar or figure out how to do things. Like, I played the fuck out of that game, and I still, like, at the end of it, I was just like, I got to level 30 or something, I was just like, fuck this is the same, I've been doing the same thing for 50 hours.
I think, so you probably did a lot of side quests then, huh?
I'm sure,
a lot of Witcher contracts and stuff. See, that's what I did. I didn't do a whole lot of those. I think I got to the point... I put it down when I got to the point where I think I was going to Skellige or whatever, and it said, if you're ready to go to the end game, like if you go here, like certain quests can't be finished, like because you're getting into the end part, spoilers, whatever. I
definitely was never presented with that option because I'd have been like, yes, click, yes, let's go, let's get the fuck out.
See, that's what I'm saying. I am not level 30 yet, but I passed that a while ago. So like you must have not, but I haven't done a ton of those side quests. That's what I'm doing now. So I put the game aside because I was like, this is the end. I want to hold off. I don't want to do it yet. And then for whatever reason,
I remember just kind of recently getting the boat or the little sail thing. And,
really?
Yeah, and I remember, when I was getting that, and like something around there is where I was just like, I remember just like it took so long to fucking make the boat go, and I was just like, fuck this.
Oh my gosh, the boat's so... Oh man. Anyway, in terms of my daughter, that sounds like a skill issue. I'm gonna say it again. But so I put it aside. But the other day, I heard about this next gen upgrade, and I was kind of like, all right, I'll just check it out just because. Like, I wanted to finish the game. I knew I was close anyway because of that last scene that I'd gotten. And I popped it in, man, and oh my gosh, like, granted, it's been a while since I've played the game, so, but I still remember what it looked like. And putting it in now, so much more beautiful. They added some extra stuff, like some extra armor and things, which are really just cosmetics based on the show. But that's cool. It's stuff I didn't ask for. I didn't pay for it. They gave me extra stuff. I love extra stuff. Give me free all the time. But that combined with just the much more beautiful, just the scenery, and not just that. Like, Geralt can do more things now. Like, I'm pretty sure I couldn't jump freely before and like climb before and just do things. I'm pretty sure I have more mobility now. So I'm like almost certain that they added more there because I can go places I was struggling to get to before. Regardless, because of those changes and just realizing, I'm at the end, but let me just grab a couple of these Witcher contracts just to get myself back into playing before I kind of go and do something difficult. And it's fun. I'm going to be there for a while. I will grant you, like, I did some...
Wait, so are you telling me that they remastered it and you were able to pick up where you left off, or you had to start over again, right?
No, I'm picking up where I left off, yeah.
So they just remaster the existing game and your saved game can pick up there?
Yeah. They were just like, I plugged in I put it, and I have the disc. Like, I don't have many discs. I do everything almost digitally now. But so I put my disc in, and it was like, we have a next generation upgrade for free. Would you like that? I was like, sure. And they just, all of that. So I picked up my, everything. That's why I'm like, shit, let me finish with this beautiful game and, actually go through the finish line here.
Huh. I don't have my PS3 anymore, but actually, I'm selling my PS4 right now. It's literally listed on eBay as we speak with the PSVR and all that shit. I figured now is probably the the last opportunity with the PSVR 5 coming out that I'll be able to get any money at all for this thing. Yeah, so I fucking dumped it all on there. Like, it's kind of sad to look at, like Skyrim VR, fucking all the shit that's on there. I got a ton of discs for that too. That was probably the last thing that I was buying discs for. Well, I don't know. I got a bunch of physicals, Switch games too. Yeah. Amy likes to buy the actual physicals when she gets gifts.
Nice. Outside of that, Minecraft. Funny enough, like, you know, it started with a Christmas build challenge. So as part of our Christmas this year, we wanted the kids to each plan like a day that they wanted to do family activities. And one of my son's activities was we were going to do a family Minecraft build challenge. Like, we were just going to start a flat world, make it plain, and just like, all right, it was going to be like everybody build something, and then we're going to vote whose we like after like a certain amount of time. And because everybody had so much fun, we were like, yeah, we're not going to vote. We're just going to keep playing this game. So now we just continue to build on this because everybody did such different ideas. And so for me, it resulted in me nerding out and building like an underwater lab / livable structure for days. I was just like, you know, what can I do this different? I'm always building towers and stuff up in the sky and things like that. And I was like, what can I do this different? And so I was like, let me just go in the water, build a structure, and then see if I can like sponge out all the water and just make it a pure underwater, like, just at first I just wanted to do like a lab and see if it was possible. So I built one room and I was like, this is cool. And then I built onto it. And now I have this like huge and ever expanding place. And I'm like, should I just make like a huge underwater Atlantis type of thing? Like, now I'm just like, so basically I'm nerding out on Minecraft, which is not something I thought I would do. I like it, but it's always a game that I just play with the kids. And now I'm kind of sucked in.
I'm sure that with the whole fucking group of people, family or otherwise, there's probably a lot of fun to be had with that. The level of, I don't know, creativity, customizability, whatever. See that.
I had to upload it to my realm so that I could call Jesse and tell him, because he plays. I was like, hey, jump on this realm and check out my underwater build and add to it. So yeah, it's fun. It's the classic problem of so many good games. It's like, which one of these do I want to play right now? Like, I could easily jump into Minecraft with the family. I could easily jump back into like Final Fantasy and just ignore everybody. It's just like, there's only so little time, only so much time in the day.
Yeah, you're what's the word for that? Attention deficit. It's not. It stresses me out listening to all those. I can't have a million quests going on. I can't be doing a bunch of shit. There's just no way. If I'm playing like a narrative-driven game, like that's the narrative-driven game I'm playing. I'm not jumping between those.
Well, that's the thing though. Like Minecraft, I'm just building stuff. Like ESO, I'm not playing quests anymore. Like, I'm really just doing PvP stuff, like creating new builds for like player versus player stuff. And like trials, just doing like a trial together with a team on like 2 nights a week, like seeing if we can get you know what I mean? Like, it's very focused, concentrated. So really the only thing I'm doing questing on is like our side quest and then like The Witcher 3, you know? So I agree. I definitely can't do multiple of those at the same time. It's like, which one? Like, when I finished Jedi Fallen Order, I was very excited about that because I was like, all right, that one's done. Moving on. What's next?
Yeah. I've been trying to trying to find a new like big VR narrative driven game. Like, I don't have there's like a bunch of shit I've never finished. I still haven't finished that Area Man Lives. I still haven't finished Green Hell VR, but like I've kind of like they've both kind of petered out on me as far as my enthusiasm for them. So I'm kind of thinking it's just a done thing. So there's something I'm looking for. Something I actually was the Rough Talk guys did Iron Man VR. I didn't realize that was on Quest. I assumed just because it's like a huge. I assumed because it was a big Marvel license that I mean, I heard rumblings about it, but I assumed it was just a fucking PC VR thing, you know, or whatever.
What?
Yeah, I didn't assume it would be on Meta or on Quest, and it is, I guess. And they just did a review of it, and it sounds pretty cool. I mean, I don't know, like I know I'm going to be... It sounds like the mechanic of it is amazing, and I'm sure it would be. For $40, though, the high watermark on there, I'm like, I know, like, you know, like, I know this. I know I'm not going to be happy with the story. I know I'm not going to care about it, and So I'm a little apprehensive, and I want to find something more that's more fucking in my medieval fantasy wheelhouse, And there's nothing I've seen recently that's caught my eye, and that's a bummer.
I can understand that. But if you were to step outside of the wheelhouse for a second, just take a step outside. If you ever, so I have it on PS4 VR, and like I can imagine it being even better on the Quest, not being tethered to.
They said. I mean, dude, they said the mechanic of it is fucking great.
So I'll just put it like this: I considered buying that again on the Quest just to play it on that one instead. And I don't do that on games, but I consider that because I'm not like, I'm a huge Marvel comic books fan, but I'm not an Iron Man fan. Like I like Iron Man because of the movies, but I don't care about. He's not my character. But at the same time, like playing as him in that suit and like flying around, like, man, it is so much fun. It's like once you get used to it and like your hands actually have to do that, his motion to like fly, and it's just it's addicting, and you feel like you're like, holy shit, I'm up in the air and like flying around, and like I can only imagine, like I said, being untethered and being able to do that. Right. I recommend, like, if you want to try something different, just even if you were a kid, when you were a kid, you ever wanted to be a superhero and fly around, regardless of Iron Man aside, I think you might enjoy it.
I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, at least I if it wasn't $40, or I could if it was on sale when I listened to that review, which would have been a very. I mean, I guess it's relatively new, so Marvel's not going to fucking fuck off. They don't care. Yeah. But like if that review would have been coordinated with, I mean, honestly, any kind of a sale, if it would have even been 10% off, probably it would have been almost impossible probably to not buy it. So. I'm hoping that it'll just hit a sale and that'll catalyze me. But even like I said, even that, like that's, and like they said, it's it sounds kind of short too. I mean, they said it's only a few hours. So even if I do get that, I think I'll be back to fucking to the same place pretty soon, as far as the difficulty. That's true. Not particularly difficult, not particularly long. They were saying so. Yeah, still looking for something. True. So yeah, I've been fucking playing the new Demio campaign, dropped on the 15th, so I have been playing. They added levels, they changed the UI up entirely, like the whole menu UI and stuff is redone and much better. So all that's good quality of life improvement stuff too. But the new campaign is on there, of course, as well. And I ended up actually sorting out, so that, I mean, I told that story of the beta test thing and not being able to get the beta test whatever, where they couldn't figure it out. And I ended up actually sorting it out. The problem was, I think maybe I said I just figured it out right when we were recording. So maybe that I already said that. But, I did actually get to play it a little bit before it came out. Unfortunately, like there are other players. They invited, obviously, a handful of people to participate in that beta test. But I guess it wasn't enough people for the quick match thing to work and actually get paired with people in games. Like I actually asked Amber, I'm like, is that even possible on there? Because it's there as an option to quick play and get auto matched, but I never got matched with anyone. So I had to do every run solo, and that was cool. I got to see the barbarian, I got to see the maps. I even made it to the fucking boss one time by myself. I mean, got fucking annihilated immediately, but I was able to experience it all. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. But without the the whole fun of that is the collaboration and it's not particularly fun game alone. So the preview was cool, but yeah, when it dropped on the 15th and actually got able to get in there, fucking it's so damn good, dude. And the new barbarian character, so it's set, the new thing is it's set in a village, so you're in this hamlet. I think that's the appropriate term for this. First, I don't know exactly what the exact definition of a hamlet is, but that's what I want to call it. So you have two. The first two floors are this, very old timey English looking village, and then the third is this throne room of the Elven King, and the whole. All 5 of the existing campaigns have all been built around this one kind of storyline of the Elven King. The very first one, Black Sarcophagus, is the Elven Queen that you're battling. The second one, the Rat King. These are all domains under the rule or under the whatever umbrella of this Elven King. So essentially this campaign has wrapped up and concluded this storyline. So the next campaigns or campaign or set of campaigns or however they choose to do it will be like a whole new realm kind of, so that's interesting in of itself, that this is kind of like the conclusion of these things I've been playing for the last year. Really cool. But so that's one cool aspect of it. And then the barbarian, the new character, is absolute fucking fire, dude. It's the coolest character hands down. And yeah, I mean, I'm still every now and like, it depends what's going on. Like I'll be the assassin every now and again still, but like Amy and I have been playing the shit out of it. She's had all week off basically. I don't think she'd call it all week off, but she basically had all week off. And so we've been sitting around. We've been like playing like Demio twice a day now. Just also we played all 5 campaigns this week. So I've went through every one of the campaigns as the barbarian, and it's just there's so many cool features of it, man. Like the biggest thing probably is that his weapon is this hook that you can. It's got a bunch of offensive functions, of course, but you can pull. There's all these like pulling mechanics that you can do. So the lamps can now be pulled and collected, and they become a card in your inventory. So those lamps are everywhere. So any of the boards, even the new one included, of course, but the previous 4, like those things are everywhere. So that it gives you tools all the time, like, and you get to choose. There's the ice, the water, the fire, and the vortex lamps. You get to choose based on your environment, and it's like a level of strategy that is next level, because even the mechanic of that, you have to wait a turn after you collect it. So like you can't just grab it and throw it. You gotta okay, I'm gonna collect, like, okay, I wanted to get the ice one now because we're going in this area where it'd be nice to be able to freeze, or do I want a vortex and stack it on lamps that are like, are we gonna go into this big area where I'll be able to use a vortex to stack and have that kind of the really chain effect thing that's really cool, where you get a bunch of lamps to blow up because they all get sucked into and the enemies get sucked in with it. So there's a really cool strategy element with that, and then also you can pick up. You can pull characters. It's like the range on it is far as fuck, like 10 or 11 squares. So you are able to pull, like if a character's lagging behind and you want to get them back to the group, you can pull them. You can pull like a set ballista. You can pull that with you. You can move it.
Oh, instead of just having to leave it there.
Right, exactly. You can move the torches in like the Rat King. It's just there's so much kind of next level It's funny to me that it's like the mindless pit fighting barbarian character, because I think it is the most strategy capable character of the 6. So that's kind of interesting to me and funny, but yeah, it's a lot of really cool shit we can do. And I mean, his some of the offensive stuff he has is unreal. And to be honest with you, I kind of think he's a little not OP. I think he's OP. I think they're going to rebalance him. I don't think it's good for the game necessarily as far as the competitive aspect of it goes. Like last night, so we were playing the desert one last night, which you still haven't even played that one, have you?
Desert one?
Yeah, I don't know. Where they're in the desert village thing. Doesn't matter. We were on the boss, and it has this card of Vergara's. What's the word that Varga's Retribution. So it's this card that it allows you. It's class specific for him, and it allows you to stack attack point, like extra attack power or extra damage points, I should say. And it's a 0 action card, so you can just use if you like it. Like the problem is you can stack these things. You can get if you collect 4 or 5 of these things in your hand, you can use them all at once, no action points consumed. And so you it's an AoE thing. So you use this card, and what you optimally want to do is have a bunch of enemies that are congregated. Like last night, the guy I was playing with that did this tried to get, he threw a vortex, and he was trying to collect them all together and then throw this on them a bunch of times in a row to stack all this extra. And basically you suck a +2 attack buff out of however many enemies you can get in the AoE. So if you can pack in 6 enemies, you get 12 from the one card play, right? So then that 12 goes above your head, and then you distribute that as you attack enemies above and beyond whatever your base attack, or if you crit, whatever that would be. Like say, you hit a enemy with 10 HP and you do your standard base 3 damage, it would pull an extra 7 out of your Varga, assuming you have that collected, and kill him on the one hit, So the problem with that, or the real balancing issue with that is, so this guy last night stacks like 50 plus of it right in the boss battle, right? And then we lucked into finding, if you haven't even played this one, this isn't going to mean anything, but there's this particular boss, he's got 2 stages to him, and it's like 120 HP or something, and for the first 60 HP, he stays hidden, and he's moving around the room, and you're and this is something I think they need to fix too. I think it sucks that you can find this guy, but you can use your pointer and like find him in the dark and find where he is, and then go attack him. He doesn't have an offensive capability at this stage. He's just moving around, but he's there, and the environment is really difficult to deal with. There's these 3 hiders in the middle of the room, and then a shit ton of enemies. So the idea is you're supposed to have to deal with them while you do this little step-by-step thing, this environmental thing, to reveal him, and then you can go attack him. So you can skip that step by just using your pointer and finding him in the dark, and then going and attacking him, and not even dealing with the environment basically, and going through the process that I think, from a development perspective, they wanted you to have to deal with. So I think they need to fix that, because I think that sucks. But anyways, we find this guy. He happens to be right by where we started, so we like just go up there and we just mob him, and trap him in this room so he can't get out, because he has to like walk. Literally, he can't teleport or anything unless you like really corner him. So we corner him in this room, and we like whittle him down to, just from our perception, close to half of his HP, and then we mob him. Like, normally at the halfway point, all the enemies disappear, he moves out to the middle of the room, and he goes into this crazy berserk thing where he's throwing shit down, and like it's, very difficult. He makes clones of himself, and you have to like figure out which one is him, or you're attacking dummies. Like, there's this whole thing, which they fucked that up too, because you can kind of cheat on that too. So there's just a whole bunch of shit I think they need to fix with that boss battle to make it as difficult as it should be. But anyways, we just basically skipped that. We cornered him in this room, and he went up to him, and with his 50 extra damage, and I had stacked 22 on, because we were both playing barbarians, so we just killed him basically in one turn with our 70 extra damage points that we'd stacked with this card that you can use. So it's really cool and fucking awesome, especially when it's not feel like you're fucking ruining the game with it. As much fun as it is to just crush something, it's very useful out in the dealing with the enemies and stuff, because you get into those situations where like, you fucking really want that one enemy dead, because it's gonna fucking fuck with, the turn's about to end and shit's about to go haywire if that thing's still alive, and having a few extra damage to deal out is a really cool tool. But it shouldn't be so easy to stack like insane amounts and dump them on one enemy, because that nerfs boss battles, So
you think maybe there should be a cap or something on the amount that you can stack?
Yeah, well, that, or maybe I think maybe the simple solution is that it has action to it, so you can't just use 7 of them in one turn. I think is probably is maybe what I would do. I don't know. That's not my problem, I guess. But I think it sucks the way it is now. But very cool character anyways, and a lot of fun. And the map is, I kind of talked about the way, that's straightforward enough. But there's new enemies. They have this, each one of the campaigns, the last few have had like the desert one has these water bottles that they've introduced, and like water bottles have, I'm sure I talked about this when this dropped, but like the water can like get rid of this like rage shit that's developing all over the place, and enemies can use to their advantage, and also like your characters can be turned into this rage state, and the water gets rid of that. So there's all these things that this one specific card does to change the gameplay of that particular campaign. In this case, they've introduced this vortex powder that is like a mini 3x3 vortex that also doesn't take an action point. So you can, again, kind of stack these and use these to pull enemies and detonate things and like just interact with the environment, which it balances well, because this is a constantly swarming map. Like there are these new, they're called Elven Summoners, and they like astronomical HP. They teleport around. It's really hard to corner them and kill them between the HP and the moving around thing. But every few turns, they create these portals all over the map that, if you don't get rid of, will spawn enemies continuously, so it's like,
the classic portal spawn,
right? So yeah, it's like it can if you let that shit get out of hand and don't stay on top of it, you can get absolutely swarmed on these boards. So having something that's 0 action points like that can do a little bit of environmental manipulation and maybe kill a few things is really helpful and works well. The enemies are the portal spawn enemies come out with half HP than if you were to normally encounter them. So they're balancing that. They're making an effort to balance that swarming thing a little bit, and I think it's working well on that front. But yeah, like a real, again, just new mechanics that just change the way you have to interact with the game, the way you have to think about how you're tackling these problem sets, and like that's a board game like this that's critical to keep that not monotonous and variable. Because I did a few things last night in the game we played. I'm level, so they added new levels. I'm 68 or something now, like 70, whatever the fuck level I am. I've played an insane amount, and I fucked up a bunch of stuff. Like I fucked up a couple things, that I just don't. Even after all this play, I still don't know how exactly certain things work. This one lightning scroll, like I fucking stunned a bunch of friendlies, like party members, because I fucking did something stupid with it, So like, it's just that you can play this game that much and still not have everything down is such a credit to the amount of, I don't know, whatever that they've packed into it, the amount of the depth of that they've made it with, and that's really, really cool. So keep bugging you. Got to get in there. Got to get. I cannot believe Jab. He's such a cunt. Jab would love it so much. He's such a dumb cunt. Like I can't believe he's fucking difficult about downloading. Even the Steam version, like I said, I think the idea that playing it without VR, I think, is a huge downgrade. But it's still fun and.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fun game regardless, but I think the VR just adds
so much to it. Yeah, and dude, I didn't realize it, but I've been playing a lot lately, and I've been playing a lot with people, and you can see the people in the room you're with, and there's a lot of people with the gloves just sit on the edge of the wooden board or the wooden border around the board. People's gloves are just sitting there on the edge now, and the first few however many day, more than a week or however, I playing with people and I was like, what the fuck, why it's weird that people, I don't know, how do you do that? how do you like in between turns? I assumed it was just in between turns, I'm not paying close attention to it. Now someone mentioned in a game not too long ago we were playing that's because the VR players, exactly, VR, their hands don't move, they're doing something on a screen, so that just means they're a Steam player. But that's my point being that I see that a lot. So there's a lot of people playing that way, which, it's surprising to me that, I don't know, I guess, again, it's a testament to the game because that many people are playing it without the VR component. But yeah, I mean, I would much rather play the VR version. It's so much, just the idea of spinning around and being able to, that's so much cooler.
Sometimes you want to zoom in and look like down the corridor like you're in it, know? Like,
No, it's just so much more immersive, I think, to play that way.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to get in there. It's more, we got in last night and I was like, I definitely want to play. But then by the time we got home, dude, it was like, I think I texted you at like 9 or something. I think I passed out trying to watch a show at like 9:45. I was so tired. I just knew it. I was like, ugh.
Yeah, we were up. I played that till like 11:30, and then I started mapping for Dragon Warrior 2. Yeah. The boss battle. I'm of course not going to spoil that, so people can go in there and fucking play it. But the boss battle for that map is fucking awesome, and it's one of the like a bunch of times I've played it, and like you're in there, and like someone will say like this is the easiest one. Like, dude, this is not the easiest one. This fucking boss, like if you catch it right, yes, you can really mop his ass up. But if there's a lot of variables. And if those variables don't work in your favor, you can get fucked in this thing. So it's like, there's a lot of really cool shit that he does. And it is definitely not easy. Despite when some people are like, I want to fucking slap the shit out of something. Like, shut up. Don't even say that before. Like, what are you talking about? You clearly have not played this enough. If you have not had this battle go haywire on you yet, then you have not played the game enough, because that shit can, he has these like minion things that can just absolutely ruin what you're trying to do. So very cool, very fucking awesome game. If you're not fucking playing it, get a fucking Oculus and get Demio. Stop ruining your life. So played a lot of that, and this past week I talked a little bit about in the chat. I think I definitely posted about it, but I finally got the right hair at my ass to overcome the obstacle of learning how the fuck to properly set up RetroArch on my PC, and made the emulating jump to it. And well, it's funny, like, when did you get it? How long ago? And you're talking about how you could get the box covers and like,
dude, yeah,
it was like years. It was years ago. It was years ago.
The very first time we started podcasting, I was like, and I was on my Mac, like, oh, look at RetroArch. This thing is amazing.
I have tried to do it briefly. Even that wasn't that long ago. I tried to do it and I couldn't figure out the core shit. I think I talked about this, and it was just whatever, and just fucking ended up deleting it and not getting very far. So I take the time to do the research, and the extent of the obstacle ended up being a 9-minute YouTube video from an account called Shandell Explains, and this dude did a awesome job of going through the process in a no bullshit, no nerd fluff way that had me running immediately, off and running immediately, And yeah, the link to that's in the show notes if you want to make the jump yourself and haven't done so to this dude's video. But it's so pathetic that this like incredibly insignificant impediment has been all that stood between where I was at and this quality of life upgrade. It's like so much fucking better and easier. And, it obviously any game you want or any system you want, it's just, the fact that I couldn't figure the cores out and just literally not understand. Because the RetroArch menu is a lot. So if you don't have someone tell you where things are, you're never going to just, I think, figure it out, So that was a problem. Knowing where things are, and like, I thought I had to install the cores manually and go find them and put them in, and I thought that was all like something I had to do. And the UI,
they're in there. You just search them.
The UI. Well, they're not in there, but the UI can download and properly install them on its own. So yeah, it's fucking, and you have to, the only difficulty is choosing which one you want of its system's emulators, because obviously each of them have different features. So
yeah.
And you can certainly find people who have lists and stuff of which ones to choose. So even that you don't really have to take any leaps of faith. So yeah, so fucking awesome. I basically spent an entire Thursday evening and all of a Friday organizing the box art and such for my just different system libraries, and getting and that actually is which is why you see people talking about this, because it's not a perfect thing. And if you already have an existing ROM library, unless you want to go out and download, which you can, entire ROM libraries that are going to be full of shit you don't want taking up space on your computer, you have to go in and make sure the file names of the ROMs perfectly match the file names of the box art. And that is because, most of the ROMs you download, some of them have kind of standardized to this RetroArch naming convention that allows them to match up on their own. But a lot of them don't. So either they won't have, because, every ROM has different territory, like regions that was released for or in. So sometimes it's US, and some ROMs will list US as just a U. Some will do it as USA. So like just little shit like that will fuck up the lining up of the art to the game, and you got to go in and fucking tweak all that yourself. So a little bit of anal retentive organizing work to do with this, but I kind of enjoy that anyway. So, it allowed me to go through it, and it's so easy and seamless that now, like, I was having trouble with the TurboGrafx 16 emulator. Now, like, that's not a problem at all. So every time going through this issue that we're about to talk about, if we ever get to it, is anytime I see a TurboGrafx 16 game, I can download it and play it in seconds, and also, the RetroArch, like, you don't have to do any controller mapping. It natively understands. I've had to fuck with it a little bit to use the actual controllers. So now when I'm doing the like, it kind of changed a little bit of the authenticity thing for me, because now I'm using my Xbox controller for everything, because every system I open up, it just automatically is mapped and I can just use it. And I'd rather be using the NES controller for NES games, like I've been doing, the Genesis controller for Genesis games. I like that. Playing it closer to the real experience, and I'll still do that for game episodes, but it's just so much faster and easier to just have my Xbox controller for every time, just burning through a few games every few minutes, so it's kind of changed the way I approach that. But other than that, it's just a fantastic upgrade. So the big development out of this, other than just changing the way maybe I do these the ease and convenience with which I tackle this podcast, is it allows me to do good GameCube emulation now. So I have been on a little bit of a kick. Like, I'm going to go back and fuck with all the games. There's Eternal Darkness, this one I loved. My favorite game on my GameCube. I'll go back and play probably. That Resident Evil 0, that the second disc was fucked up. I never got to finish that game. So, like, I'm gonna play that for sure. But the first thing was Mario Sunshine, which I have not played since I had a game, since I did it for the GameCube. And it's, dude, like, first of all, we're talking the GameCube is early 2000s, and it's 64 was 3D too, but this is like the first real 3D system, I think. 64 was barely 3D. So, there's just so much shit that has changed for the better, thank God. The camera is so every 5 seconds, like every time I turn it on, because I can actually I've been piping this to the TV and I'll sit on the couch and play with my Xbox controller, so like I'm playing it like the way I would play, the whole house knows I'm doing this, it's not like I'm tucked in a corner on my laptop. So like, every time I fire it up, Amy's over there talking to Miyagi like, how much is he gonna fucking bitch about the camera now? Like, because it is every 5 seconds you're just like, what the fuck, man? Like, the camera is so clunky and bad, and like it's like it can't even like if it like it's stuck on the idea of being a physical object in the space. You know what I mean? So if it like gets stuck up against something, it won't. You just
like
can't
the wall. Like
you can't get it out. You have to like literally move your fucking character over to a place where the camera would be able to physically get out and see you again. It sucks so bad, dude. It's so fucking bad, and like it will only spin one way. It's like it's not. Every time I want a movement, I'm moving it the wrong way. It just sucks. It's so bad. So frustrating, the camera shit. But it's still a super cute game. Super fun game. The mechanic, I don't know if you remember the mechanic of Mario Sunshine, but you got that little water backpack. So like the whole game is kind of about washing this goop off things on this island with these native inhabitants that you're going, I think they're going to visit them with Peach or something. And because you show up, some dickheads are pissed off at you and they start fucking the island up trying to get you, so you're kind of indebted to them in some way, shape, or form, and you're trying to fix this problem for them. So they give you this water pack to wash this shit off with. So you're spinning the whole thing. Like, it's very different than any other Mario, basically, in that you are using this water to do all kinds of things, and like you can use it as a kind of floating jetpack too. It does all these things that aren't normal control mechanics, I think, in Mario games that make it interesting and different and really fun. So
I never heard of this. So this is like outside of us playing Madden and NBA, like the GameCube was really like the lost generation for me when it comes to Nintendo. So like I actually bought a couple weeks ago, it was kind of like my Christmas present to myself, I bought the Mario 3D All-Star. So it comes with Mario 64, which I don't think I've fully finished, but I owned it.
Oh, it's so good.
It comes with that. Mario Sunshine, which I've never played, and Mario Galaxy. And my whole point was like, I've never played those last two, Galaxy and Sunshine. So you talking about that, I'm like, wow, I didn't know it was that. I didn't know it was that different, but I will find out soon.
Yeah, fire it up, dude. And I mean, that's probably, I'm dumb to not be doing that because I'm sure the quality of life on that has been changed for the better. So it's probably a whole lot less frustrating than playing it on a GameCube emulator too. But yeah, the game is great. It's really super. It's really cute. And there's funny things too. It's got like this. Again, it's just it's such a, between the technology aspect of it, the deficiencies that has, and then just the kind of the aesthetic. There's like this, like I said, early 2000s, and it's got like a news ticker. Like when you're in the main world, like the hub world, it's got this like news ticker thing on it, and it's so funny because it's trying to emulate. I think the idea behind this was it's trying to emulate like popular culture to some degree, or kind of adhere to, or assimilate to, or be part of, or just kind of be with the times, I guess. And that was when that shit was like, that may be amazing for some people to hear who maybe are not as old as us, but news, like not every screen didn't used to have a ticker on the bottom with information that you had to consume while you also watch something. So like this was like that was when that, I mean, the early 2000s is when that was first starting to happen. We were still in stand. I mean, this, I played this on a fucking 25-inch, that CRT that we played on in New York, that a £1 million 25-inch CRT. So like that did not exist, or it was relatively new, and the idea that they put that in the game with like these dumb updates, while you're playing it's just so dated and funny, it's so funny to me that that's in there, and like there's a lot of, it's just it is a very, you feel the time specific nature of it while you're playing it, for sure, between again the technology and just little things like that. Some of the dialogue too, it's just it is a very dated game for sure, because it has, it's like, obviously 8-bit NES Mario is very dated too, but there's only so much of the dating that they can pack into that, Right. Like this is a gigabyte. Like, that's the problem with GameCube games, actually downloading them. There's a gigabyte to download. Like, they're fucking CDs. So, the downloading them is fucking, they're space intensive and takes time to download them. So you can't just, like, it doesn't just, it's not the kind of system where you're just going to be like, oh, fucking pull this down and play it for 5 seconds. No, fuck that. Like, you're going to make a decision to download this and play it, So, it's big enough to be able to pack more of the footprint of the developer in the game, or the developer's intent. And I think, it goes far beyond even that, again, of the 64. The 64 could barely do that, I think. Right. So, it's just a very, very funny experience. I'm enjoying it, but semi-frustrating and funny, too, at times. So last thing, if we're ever going to get out of this section, that I want to talk about is I got Amy Vermilion for the Oculus for Christmas. And this is a VR painting app that is very...
VR painting.
It's like, it's 5 stars. It's just, it's there's no question that actual professional artists were consulted to develop this or participated in. It's like a level of perfection of, in a VR space, emulating painting in real life. Like, there's just so much tender loving care clearly shown to make this like real painting without the mess. It of course has a cool social multiplayer mode too, where you can paint in the same space, so that was the idea. I got it for her, and then I got it for myself too, so for something for us to do together. And it's just wild how much control you have over what you're doing and how it translates to what goes onto the canvas. Like, you can change how you hold the brush. You can, like, hold the low trigger and change the way your hand is holding the brush. So there's just every level of manipulation that you could want, and maybe if you're not a painter would even know you wanted. But it's in there, And if you're like pressing the brush, you have the palette, you press the brush, and like how much paint you're getting on the brush is dependent on the way and pressure with which you're pushing the brush into the palette. And then on the canvas itself, I'm sure I'm not using the maybe proper vernacular because I am not a painter by any length, but like the way you push, if you had a brush, like one of those little pointy ones with just, however many bristles would be on a tiny brush like that, 40 bristles, say, 30 bristles, however many it would be. When you push it just a little bit, you would just put a little dot of paint, right? If you were to push it, like, this makes me think of the watercolors. I don't know how many watercolor brushes did you destroy as a kid, where you're just jamming it down the thing, because
because when you learn to have to be careful,
right? Yeah, when you jam it into those things and you're trying to fill it up with that shitty watercolor paint, you're exactly, you're smushing the brush out and fucking the brush out, right? So if you were to do that in this, when you put it on the canvas, the way the paint is applied to the canvas acknowledges that pressure. So, like, the difference between just putting a dot or putting a stroke or just jamming the brush up against it and how that would kind of flare the bristles, and the way that paint will be left on the because it's oil paints, and so it's trying to emulate oil paint physics, I guess. The way that paint will be applied to the canvas is different for every one of those, every minutia step between those two ends of the spectrum,
That's
so
impressive.
It's fucking crazy how much detail they put into it, man. Really wild. Yeah, I mean, if Courtney or any of the kids are into painting, like, I highly, highly, highly recommend. It's only $20 full price. It was on sale. I don't think it's anymore. I think it ended on Christmas, but it was down to $14 a pop. When I was getting it, they had a sale going on, so they probably will do a sale soon. But yeah, really fucking good. And if you like painting, no brainer. They even have a YouTube player in the UI. So if you want to watch Bob Ross episodes, or there's
really?
a billion tutorials out there to teach you how to, because there is a little bit of a learning curve to, I don't know how different it is. Maybe, again, I don't know shit about painting, so maybe it's not as much of a learning curve. And if you knew everything about painting, maybe you could just walk in there and intuitively do whatever you wanted. I don't know. But some of the, mixing paints and like there's things that like I feel maybe are slight physics differentials between real life and this VR space that tutorials will take you through and explain, and the layering of the canvases. There's some quality of life things too. You can do overlays, so if you go out and get a picture that you want to paint, you can do this kind of semi-transparent overlay onto the canvas, and you can make that as as opaque as you want, or not opaque, or rather translucent, and change the way that is shown to you, and you want to use that as a guide. And there's like a ruler you can use. There's so many little features to it that it would be best, I think, if you want to get the most out of it, to go through a tutorial sequence that someone's doing and really understand all the features of it. But really, as far as I'm just again, the all-encompassing nature of it providing a true painting experience is really impressive. Really, really, really impressive. So, nice. Okay, enough bullshitting. Let's get to this before 2023. Yeah.